Eastern Cape crime statistics are out and the murder rate has gone up from 1,020 cases to 1,200 cases. There are also 1,648 sexual offences reported cases, which is a decrease of 266. The scourge of violent crimes has been on the rise, especially in Mthatha and East London. My colleague, senior reporter Aviwe Mtila, is joining us now from the Eastern Cape with the latest, with the live updates. Good afternoon, Aviwe. So what are the numbers saying there? I see you've got some guests with you this hour. What are the main takeouts from these crime stats of the Eastern Cape?
Well, Bradan, the main concern would be around the increasing number of murders in the province. They've risen by 17%, going from 1,020 in the last quarter to 1,200 murders that have been recorded in the first quarter of 2022-2023. Of course, a lot of them happen in areas that can't be policed, even reminding me of one incident, that is, of course, the gruesome murder of Mthatha. In fact, I want to bring in the Provincial Police Commissioner just to get an understanding of these murders. PC, thank you for joining us at eNCA, and I mentioned the murder of Mthatha because a lot of promises were made, even by Police Minister Bheki Cele, when it comes to accountability and arrests that were promised soon. How far are we in that matter? Or do you have any suspects?
Thank you. Greetings to you and greetings to the viewers at home. I first want to respond to the Mthatha case. The Mthatha case docket has been taken over by the National Crime Detection Unit at head office in Pretoria due to some reasons that I cannot mention. So they are updating me though on the developments of the case. We are expecting them to effect an arrest. That is the last development that was given to me as a provincial commissioner in connection with the case. So it is an advanced stage currently, but being investigated by the National Head Office in Pretoria.
And how soon can we expect this arrest, PC?
Unfortunately, I cannot put a time frame because the docket is under the National Head Office, as I've said.
Okay, I must just bring in also the recent events of the 21 deaths at Enyobeni. Cause has been detailed to the parents, but we want to know what happens then going forward from the police's side. Can we expect even charges from them?
Well, the current situation is that the Department of Health, they have dealt with the results in informing the families of the cause of death. But we as the SEPS organization, we're still in consultation with the National Prosecuting Authority before we can be able to give any document to the parents. So we are still in that phase of consulting with the National Prosecuting Authority, and then thereafter there will be a decision made in terms of whether the charge will change to a culpable homicide or whatever charge from the current inquest.
Okay, and the murders are quite alarming themselves, 17% increase, PC. What plans do you have in place? Because we know East London is problematic, as well as the Mthatha area where murders are happening on an almost every weekly basis. What are the plans in place to curb this?
It is true that we are concerned about the 17% increase of murders in the province. What we have in place is that we have already identified the hotspots being the OR Tambo, Mthatha, forming part of the top 30 nationally. So it is the OR Tambo, it is the Nelson Mandela Bay district, and also the Buffalo City Municipality district. The plan that we have highlighted it to the MEC, presented it now, the turnaround strategy. It's activities that we've been doing, but we're now putting more emphasis on addressing the murders. I need to say that most murders are committed using firearms. So the first thing that we need to focus on is minimizing firearms which are in the wrong hands of the criminals. That is the first focus. The other issue is that the hotspot areas are going to be addressed in terms of multidisciplinary operations in all those areas. We cannot mention the dates, but already we do have plans in addressing all three hotspots as identified through the crime stats release.
Okay, thank you very much, Provincial Commissioner Mene. In fact, I want to bring in now the MEC for Transport and Community Safety in the Eastern Cape. That is Umdomkhulu Xoleng. Thank you for joining us at eNCA. Some shocking crime stats that we're hearing here, especially even around gender-based violence. What course of action are you going to take going forward?
Yeah, thank you. It is indeed quite concerning, as it has always been, the levels of crime that is increasing. But I am quite encouraged with the work done by SAPS, and that include successful convictions, successful arrest and successful convictions that have been secured. More than 360 illegal firearms recovered as a result of the work done by SAPS, including securing life sentences in some cases, and in other cases long-term sentences. It is a work in progress, but it requires partnerships, it requires community involvement and active citizenry, because some of the incidents, particularly of rape, and they take place in residences, which is impossible to have a SAP member in each household. And therefore we need sort of collaboration with communities to ensure that those who are raped, they do report the incidents of rape, and those who witness any of these wrongdoings are able to come forward. And the issue that the Provincial Commissioner is referring to, which is critical, is how do we use these stats to inform how we deploy our resources. And the plan presented here precisely addresses that, so that our focus and in terms of human resource deployment, in terms of collaboration with other departments, is focusing on those areas.
We talk about a crucial aspect of deploying resources. I want to bring you in then. I understand you just came into these booths of the Community Safety MEC, but you have been in government. In terms of the eNCA tragedy and the broader alcohol industry in the Eastern Cape, there are only 16 liquor inspectors for more than 7,500 outlets such as eNCA Tavern. Surely this can't be the case. What are your plans as government to address the scourge of drinking and alcoholism even in the province?
We are already, as community safety, working with SAPS again and other departments, including social development, engage in community awareness programs, and to go to schools, to go to traditional councils in the rural villages, to try and educate communities about the dangers of the abuse of alcohol and drugs. And also critical that we're trying to do is to ensure that there is attention to the issue of increase of resources by the provincial government, for instance, to community safety. Those are some of the measures we are taking, and also there is a current bill which is being looked at around the whole issue of the regulation of the industry, in terms of the distances that must be kept and the conditions that must be attached before granting any liquor licenses, and root out corruption in that space. Because in some instances, if not most instances, licenses that are issued to some of these taverns are issued in areas where they were not supposed to be issued. But strangely, a ward councillor did sign giving consent for that license. It's either it's closer to a school, it's closer to a church, it's closer to a community. And sometimes even the sort of radius between one tavern to another, those are some of the issues that the new legislation will tighten. And as the Provincial Commissioner was saying, some of the issues will seek to ensure that there is closer collaboration with the municipalities, because municipalities must ensure that they have got bylaws in place, but they must ensure that they increase their capacity to enforce bylaws. And if municipalities do not have bylaws, we cannot even assist them to enforce, because there will be nothing to enforce. So hence it's important that the space must be regulated tightly, and we must ensure that we safeguard the future of our country.
And just lastly, MEC, the cause of death has finally come out, 21 children at the eNCA Tavern. The plans from government, I'm sure there are talks on what must happen from government side, given that it's been blamed on asphyxiation.
I think the Provincial Commissioner has spoken to that matter, and I would like us to handle that way, because it is a sensitive matter that we must not, avoid speaking in many languages about it. Hence, it's properly, handled by the Provincial Commissioner. that they are undergoing these processes and will decide which kind of charge must be placed, whether it becomes culpable homicide and so on. And but we're quite satisfied that we are at this point, though it took longer for us. But it was important to ensure that all tests are done and all those kind of issues. Yeah, but for any further information, go next door.
All right, thank you very much. That's the MEC of Transport and Community Safety in the Eastern Cape, as well as the conversation we heard a bit earlier on with the Provincial Commissioner of the Eastern Cape, General Mann.